Hello there. The SNP were particularly vociferous in their anti-Brexit arguments in the debates this morning, so it's a good job I had my anti-Ian Blackford defenders on hand, isn't it? Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost, and I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily, and a big thanks to my Patreon and PayPal supporters. Next year the SNP will suddenly find that they have destroyed their independence argument with their own position on the Brexit deal. During the Brexit debates on the European Union Future Relationship Bill in the House of Commons this morning, SNP politicians kept talking about this awful Brexit agreement that will deal a hammer blow to the Scottish economy. The SNP leader in Westminster, Ian Blackford, talked about the damage it would do to the £16 billion in exports from Scotland to the EU. So the picture he painted was of a Scotland about to be laid waste by this deal. And no more freedom of movement, he wailed. He was definitely playing to the Scots Nats gallery on this one. Basically, he said that the destruction, devastation and ruination that Boris Johnson would wreak on Scotland through this deal would bring destitution and impoverishment to all of Scotland's people. So much so that his party will be voting against the deal, so effectively backing the no-deal Brexit outcome instead. But given that the vote at second reading was 521 MPs in support of the bill and 73 against, I think the writing's on the wall, don't you? But I'm not sure Blackford and the SNP have thought this anti-Brexit deal thing through to the logical conclusion, though. Here's the problem for them. According to the gov.scot website, in 2018 the Scottish exports of £85 billion were made up as follows. Exports to the EU, £16.1 billion, or 19% of the total. Exports to the rest of the world, £17.7 billion, or 21% of the total. And exports to the rest of the UK, £51.2 billion, or 60% of the total. And what Nicola Sturgeon, Ian Blackford and the rest of the SNP and their supporters are saying is that this trade deal imposed between Scotland and their 19% of exports to the EU will do irreparable damage to them. So what they're going to do is leave the UK so as to dismantle that barrier and recover the Scottish economy. But can anyone see the deep, deep flaw in their argument? Well, it's this. If they ever did gain independence and join the European Union, they would then be forced to trade on EU terms with the UK. They would be forced to use this very same deal when exporting to the rest of the UK. The exact same terms of the agreement they say is so bad for Scotland would then be switched from 19% of their exports to the EU onto the 60% of their exports they have with the rest of the UK. So from the 1st of January 2021, when the SNP tour Scotland whipping up support for independence, they will be telling their citizens to rip up the awful Scotland-EU border, then impose the exact same border between themselves and the only country with which they have a land border, and the country that is also by far their largest export market. The SNP will effectively be campaigning for this deal. They will be arguing that this deal is bad for Scotland when applied to a fifth of their export market, but good when applied to 60% of their exports. And if they think they can get the EU to agree to a special deal for Scotland that gives them free access to the UK market, well, good luck with that one. I'll just point out that David Cameron got zilch, so Nicola Sturgeon can expect even less. And if Scotland goes independent and joins the EU, so immediately losing its independence, there is a risk they'll lose the freedom of movement that they currently enjoy with the rest of the UK. After all, what incentive is there for the EU to agree to special conditions for the Scots when there's no equivalent to the Good Friday Agreement to be nursed? And when the UK bans live animal transfers between the UK and other countries, well, and none of this will be driven by the UK or by Westminster politicians. It will be imposed by the EU and willingly signed up to by the SNP. The UK would be looking on as an outside third country to this process. The SNP would then try and cast about for a fool guy to blame, but the finger would always end up pointing at them. All I can say to those who wish to defend the United Kingdom's unity is continually point out this incoherent SNP policy. And the SNP will then be forced into doublethink, doublespeak gymnastics, telling everyone the deal is awful, but it's good. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it by following the link in the descriptions box below and support me on Patreon or PayPal. So what do you think about this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.